Hello YouTube. This is BalorMage again, and we're coming with an update for the Toxic Rain Champion. Now, this is a build that Belakayy League started. It went, in my opinion, better than the Raider. Ever so slightly slower in movement speed, but I think we ended up at about 17% faster on the Raider than this. But this champion version, basically immortal. There's been some weird shenanigans in the Scourge realms that have done occasional one-shots out of nowhere through all flasks up and 5k molten shells and all sorts of things that we collectively can't explain how that one shot happened. But outside of those niche Scourge things that are just apparently obliterating anybody, outside of that, it's been completely immortal. It's eaten an entire die beam to the face. It's walking around with 47,000 evasion and 35,000 armor and a molten shell, and it doesn't get hit, and when it does get hit, it doesn't take any damage. It's got 100% suppression. It's just the most ridiculously tanky build that anyone has ever had in softcore. You could almost call it unnecessarily tanky. Is quite overkill for tank for softcore, but I'm still suggesting it over the Raider version, even though the Raider version is a little more DPS with being a little squishier, but because it's only like a little more DPS. Like when I say a little, what I mean is when this build is doing 1.5 million damage, the Raider is doing 1.6 or 1.65 and is moving 12% faster, but is a third as tanky, which is still reasonably tanky for softcore, but like pros and con benefit, it just isn't worth Raider anymore for a build like this, unless you're speed running heists. If you're going to go speed running heists, every extra bit of speed matters. We want as much of that as we can get. Probably don't go champion for that. But if you're going to get involved in endgame, you're going to get into the Scourge stuff, and you haven't, console league start comes up in a few hours. Maybe you're into that, and you're thinking, what should I go? Raider, champion, what's the go? I personally started Raider. Blakey started the champion. This has gone much better. This has gone much better. However, now we're onto the bad sides, which is it's still Toxic Rain. So no matter how much damage you do with it, and no matter how immortal you feel, and no matter how fast you can move with Queen of the Forest on, it's still Toxic Rain. And both of us in the Raider and Champion version have gotten incredibly bored of Toxic Rain incredibly fast. Despite them being good league starts, despite them being able to kill all our bosses, we just haven't enjoyed playing the characters, which is something new to both of us. Toxic Rain is just, frankly, I find it boring. That's going to be a personal playstyle thing, but it's just you walk around, the damage over time happens. It happens slowly. There's no pops, there's no explosions, there's nothing fancy, there's nothing interesting, there's nothing super interesting we can do with the build. Most of Toxic Rain has already been solved. At this point, we're just shy of 1.8 mil DPS. And I know all of the steps to go to take it from 1.8 to 10. And they're all boring in little steps of 500,000 here and 500,000 there. And there's nothing innovative that I can think of to do. And that mixed with the boring gameplay has made this league start relatively boring as a build. Still very powerful, but relatively boring. So, moving over to what changed. Boom. Here is a path of building. We will have this linked in the description of how this has gone. You can see we've got a cluster set up. It is not Misery Everlasting, which would be much better to have on here. This is just the cheaper clusters. We also have the same clusters we suggested. Everything is pretty much the same as the guide. Our damage is at 1.7 mil now. This is where we start to pump out real damage when we get from here. If we were to advance further, right now we've started putting points towards Master Fletcher, which would bring us up to nearly 2 mil. But there's plenty of other things we could do from here. For instance, then one of the next steps would have been a thread that bumps you up a few 100,000, right? Grabbing that thread in, these nodes would come out of here, still a few 100,000 up. Another option, another thing that we were thinking about doing, or not thinking about, but this part of the plan, would have been a Watcher's Eye, a Malevolence Watcher's Eye with damage over time multi. You can see that brings you up a few 100,000. The gloves that we have on right here don't have any damage over time multi on them. They could have another, I think it's 18 to 20. They could have an amount of damage over time on them. Damage over time multi. We could have a double damage over time multi quiver like we did in the original one. We've only got the medium-sized bow. It's not a baby bow. The baby bow is Quill Rain. This is a very easy bow to make. This is basically a nothing bow. That getting a really good one would double or triple the damage. Moving over to an Empower would up the damage again. There are some alt quality things that we could put on here. Getting a 21 Toxic Rain, move us up. Quality. There's plenty of gaps in the build that we just haven't bothered to fill because one, it's immortal already anyway, and two, we were getting way too bored of the Toxic Rain playstyle, and we knew full well that we were leaving this behind. This was gonna get sold off. We're all gonna move on to different characters. With that in mind, I have started the Stormbrand Inquisitor. I've been playing it in maps all day today. There should be an update video for that one tomorrow. I am very, very excited about that. So if you want to see that update video, remember to hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell, do your liking and commenting for the algorithm gods. They must be fed. If they don't get fed, we don't get paid. So that would be great too. And I will see everybody later.